2025. Recording?
We're recording.
The deal. And I'll call this regular meeting, the Barre City Council, to order. Under adjustments to the agenda, Council, the manager has requested an executive session regarding personnel. Are there any other adjustments? Yes.
I'd like to bring up my issue about communication among the council and city residents, which we deferred from last time because there wasn't time on it.
If there's no objection from the council, we will put that under item 8D.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Any other adjustments to the agenda? Yes.
Mayor, just one technical thing. The agenda in the room may be showing a consent agenda item 4F about a support letter for the street outreach team. That was removed from the agenda that was printed in the paper, but just for clarity, we are not doing 4F today. That will be deferred to the next meeting.
Got it. Okay, that it? Okay, council, under item 3A, we will be approving resolution 2025-14, recognizing the Granite City Blast baseball team. Councilor Bergeron.
Oh, thank you.
It's all yours.
Okay, resolution honoring the Granite City Blast baseball team. Whereas the Granite City Blast baseball team will be leaving on Monday, August 11th, 2025, for their trip to Cooperstown, and whereas the team will represent Barre at a national event, whereas in addition to working hard on the field, the team worked just as hard off the field, raising $30,000 to make the trip possible. And whereas the team represents a strong tradition of youth baseball in Barre, and we are confident that these youngsters, their coaches, and families will represent the very best of Barre. Now therefore be it resolved by the Barre City Council that the members of the council commend the Granite City Blast baseball team and wish players Michael Anderson, Keegan Bergeron, Henry Booth, Zachary Bradley, Tuckerman Cotton, Callahan Farnham, Evan Folsom, Cameron Fortier, Corbin Larrabee, Miles Marino, Keegan Myers, and David Teixeira, and coaches Jordan Bergeron, Tyler Bradley, Chris Fortier, and Andrew Myers the very best as they embark on their trip to the hallowed baseball grounds of Cooperstown. And be it further resolved that the City Council extends to each of the members of the Granite City Blast baseball team our sincerest wishes for their continuing success on and off the field. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be placed in the permanent records of the City of Barre, and that a copy be transmitted to the members of the team and coaching staff. By order of the City Council, this 5th day of August, 2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, motion carries. Come on, gentlemen, you may approach. Coach, they take orders really well. Congratulations.
So you
Come on, hang out right here. We got to get you on the microphone. Oh, you got to stand out. Sorry, you got to stand down there. It's not that I'm nervous. The microphone won't pick you guys up. So how many of you have moms and dads watching at home? None? Come on, you got to have better fans than that. Coach, anything you'd like to say? Have a seat. We'd love to have you. Gather around them, boys.
I won't say much, but I'll just take the opportunity to kind of give a little background and thanks for how we got here. It's been a pretty long, sometimes overwhelming, but always exciting road. We started kind of laying the groundwork for this a little over a year ago, and looking at the plans and what it was going to take, it was a huge undertaking to raise that much money and get everything together logistically to get to where we are now. There was a lot of times along the road where we weren't really sure if it was going to happen or how easily we could pull it off. And so the fact that we're here right now, less than a week away, and raised all the money to make it happen is honestly unbelievable. But the biggest testament to our families that made it possible. They've been awesome for organizing all this, working hard into the community. Wouldn't be here without you all. We we didn't just, go around, ask for money. These boys worked hard for it. They went door to door, raked leaves, shoveled driveways, did anything possible to put the sweat equity in and show they really wanted to be there and make it work. So kudos to them for making it happen. They're more than deserving of it. And for me personally, I'm proud and I'm excited to go and experience it with them all next week.
That is awesome. So, guys, you're a little nervous? A little bit? No? Of course. I like it.
Stone cold.
That is awesome. Hey, if you gentlemen wouldn't mind, we'll make the coach get up, and I'd just like to have you introduce yourselves, who you are, what position you play, anything you want to say. But just remember, we don't have like a 3-second delay, so we can't bleep you out, so just be careful, okay?
Hi, I'm Keegan Bergeron, and I play second base, pitcher, and shortstop.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Henry Booth, and I play right field, center, and second.
Hey, Henry.
Hi, I'm Keegan Myers, and I play wherever the coach tells me.
So he's versatile, right, Coach?
Utility player.
My name is Miles Morno, and I play shortstop and pitcher. I am David Texera, and I play catcher and outfield.
My name's Corbin Larrabee, and I play left field and pitcher.
My name's Cameron Fortier, and I play pitcher and first baseman. My name's Tuckerman Cotton, and I play left field.
Awesome. All right. Oh, Councilor Bergeron has some copies here for you. If you'd like to come up and get those from him, that would be great, guys. And thank you, and sincerely, good luck.
Good luck.
But most importantly, have fun.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you for doing that, Councilor. Sincerely. No, I mean, they're working hard and it's all good news, so thank you very much. So, Council, just as exciting, we'll move on to item 3B on the agenda. This is Resolution 2025-15 in appreciation of Assistant City Manager Don Monahan. Would you do the honors, sir?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. Barre City Resolution 2025-15, a resolution recognizing the service of Don Monahan to the City of Barre. Whereas Don Monahan was hired as Finance Director by the City of Barre in January 2019, and whereas in November 2022, Don was promoted to become the city's first ever Assistant City Manager after having ably led the Finance Department and being a standout member of the city's leadership team. And whereas in the aftermath of the 23 and 24 floods, Don assumed direct management and oversight of the city's FEMA claims, which has resulted in millions of dollars in reimbursement over the last 2 years without any disapproved claims in that time, and accomplishing this in addition to her day-to-day duties leading the Finance Department and her responsibilities as Assistant City Manager. And whereas Dawn has been committed to her profession and has many professional achievements of which she should be very proud, including years of stellar financial audit results. And whereas as Assistant City Manager, Dawn has been integral behind the scenes to many successful initiatives, both large and small, including the acquisition of the new Public Works facility, Headworks bond, and hiring a new class of lifeguards for the 2024 season. And whereas Dawn takes great pride in her work, completing tasks on a timely basis, accurately and thoroughly. And whereas, as Finance Director, Dawn has been responsible for crafting city budgets that have received broad community support, including delivering hundreds of thousands of dollars of savings, and managing our finances so well that the city was not required to absorb any new debt to respond to the 23 and 24 floods. And whereas Dawn will be departing her position on August 22nd, 2025, after accepting a position in Minnesota to be closer to her family. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Barre City Council wishes Dawn Monahan the very best as she departs her role as the city's Finance Director and first ever Assistant City Manager, and does hereby declare Friday, August 22nd, 2025 to be Dawn Monahan Appreciation Day, to express to Dawn our most profound appreciation and sincere thank you for her dedicated service, and wish her the very best in her new role. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be placed in the permanent records of the city of Barre, and that a copy be transmitted to Don Monahan. By order of the City Council, this 5th day of August, 2025.
Motion would be in order?
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, it's moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Don. Don, of course we're going to put you on the spot. You can count on us.
I did say I'd much rather give a budget presentation than to be in the spotlight.
Oh, you're going to give a budget presentation? Okay, never mind.
I couldn't do this without all the department heads, my finance team throughout the years, city manager Mackenzie, city manager Storelli Castro, and everybody that has sat on this dais that I have worked well and had their support throughout the years. I greatly appreciate every step of it. And it's very bittersweet to be walking away. But it's going to be left in good hands, and I will see you all through the 25 audit, hopefully.
You've always done a great job, Don.
Thank you.
You were our first finance director.
It was.
Yeah, in addition to being our
addition to
first assistant city manager. We missed a line.
Yeah,
Yep.
we'll edit it.
We can change it. But it was, you've done such a great job. Keeping, accurate books and records as a CPA, it's so important. How do you plan for your future when you can't report accurately on your past?
Right.
And so, you set a high bar for the job. You were our first finance director, but man, the bar is pretty high. But I know you're only a phone call away, so
Absolutely.
that's just some comfort, and you'll be closer to family.
Yes.
So I'm very happy for you
Thank
for that. So again, Don, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, council will move on to item 3C on the agenda. This is visitors and communications. Anyone wishing to address the council regarding an item that is not on the agenda? Yes, Mr. LePage, come right up.
Thank you. I want to keep it brief, which is kind of rare stuff for me. I remember the last gathering we had, meeting over the Berlin Street Bridge removal and demolition, and I don't intend to address any issues right here and now so much as I'm interested in knowing, making sure that it's publicized when the next bite at the apple, which was mentioned at the close of that meeting, when that might be. Is it already on a schedule somewhere, or is it about to be? That's pretty much my concern.
It is not, because currently there is no funding mechanism.
There's no funding?
Funding mechanism, correct.
So as in we can't afford to do it?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Manager, but
That's what
given,
holds us
if
up.
you look at the needs around the city, John, what I've said to people consistently is a few things. Am I talking loud enough? I'm sorry. Am I talking loud enough for you? No, it's fine. So what I've told people consistently is there will absolutely be advance notice, and people will know, because I understand that people have very strong opinions about that. And so I've told people that we will let you know in advance, but until there's a funding mechanism, we did submit an application, which is why I think it bubbled to the surface. We were not awarded that grant. So without a funding mechanism, you're not going to see that happen anytime soon. It's not going to happen at all without a funding mechanism. Simple as that.
Right. And we have plenty of things that we need money for, too.
We have a lot of things that we need.
All right, thank you very much.
Nope, not at all, John. Anyone else under visitors and communications? Okay, council, moving right, I got to remember, our last meeting was not Zoom, so I got out of the habit of looking at the screen, but I'll remember. So council, under the consent agenda, we have the approval of the minutes of 7:15:25 We need to approve under the clerk's office licenses and permits. We actually were an hour and 20 minutes late on this one. We need to approve the night out permit that is happening as we meet over at Courier Park. We need to approve the 143 North Main Street Initiative MOU with Barre Area Development Corporation. That was in your packet. We need to approve the certificate of project completion for the $900,000 biosolids bond. That was also in your packet. And we need to authorize the manager to execute contracts. Those 3 contracts consisting of White and Burke TIF Consulting up to $60,000, SemSites Cemetery Software $39,500, and Don Monahan, the Transition and Audit Services up to $18,600. Those were also in your packet. So a motion to approve would be in order.
I actually have a question
Of course.
about the White and Burke.
Yeah,
contract.
we always ask for discussion, so if we could
Okay.
get a motion to.
Oh, okay.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded? Yes.
Okay. On the White and Burke contract, it says, the effective date of this contract shall be October 1, 2024.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
That's accurate, Counselor. We've had a longstanding contract with White and Burke to do TIF work. We hadn't extended it. We've been doing ongoing work with them on the Seminary Street project. So for their accounting purposes and ours, for continuity, we backdated it
Okay.
to that point so that there's no interruption in our services with them.
So how much of the $60,000 that we're approving tonight has already been spent?
No, it's all basically moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
From
thank
the
you.
expenses for the 60,000 will be basically from here on out.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to be sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Yes.
I have a question about the MOU with the BADC. I'm wondering if we could get an update on the current amount to be raised, and I see Mr. McKenzie here.
As of right now.
Steve, if you're not sitting in the center seat, we can't hear you. Folks at home can't hear you.
Know the drill, it just, as of today, I think $740,000 definite. I think by the end of the week, we'll be close to, if not hopefully over, 750, meaning less than $100,000 to go. We've got a month to do it.
Okay.
So I'm cautiously optimistic, maybe naively so, but I'm cautiously optimistic we'll hit the goal.
Okay. If I may, I have one other question. As part of the MOU, under number 6, I'm not sure I understand this. It says that the Barre Area Development, Inc. Will deliver the remaining balance of the post-closing costs allowance to the city, less campaign expenses incurred by BADC, such as BRELA program enrollment application fee, $500, Phase 1 ESA update estimated to be $3,000, campaign expenses estimated to be $5,000 plus or minus. Could you explain what that means?
Well, it means the campaign goal is $850,000. The sales price is $800,000. Right from the beginning, when we had the $1 million goal, I had added $100,000 to that to cover unforeseen expenses or whatever. I reduced that to a $50,000 contingency, if you will. So that's how we got to the the current $850,000 goal, $800,000 sale price and $50,000 expense contingency. Assuming we hit the goal, $850,000, whatever we haven't spent of that $50,000, we will forward to the city.
Okay.
Now, if we don't hit, I guess what I'd say is whatever is left over that isn't in accounted for expenses, the items that are listed there, we'll give to the city. At this point in time, I can't tell you whether that's $5,000, $10,000, or $25,000, but the commitment is that any of the surplus that we haven't used, we will donate to the city, as well as cover the other costs that we've identified.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Is there a cap on that, on how much in excess the BADC would then give to the city? Like, say, for
Well,
example.
technically, there's a cap. I mean, it's,
Say, for example, that you hit 100,000 over your goal, would that then also be the same case? And I'm being very optimistic.
well, you certainly are. and
I know, but-
I hope to have that problem. I don't think I'm going to have it, but.
Maybe get a last surge
Yeah, I
of-
mean, no, there's no cap.
Okay.
there's no cap. I don't think that we will be over 850, but this was a campaign intended to be to the benefit of the city. It's not a operating cost campaign for BADC.
I understand. I thought that was the
I
case.
like your optimism.
I just wanted to be 100%
Yep.
honest and upfront.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. McKenzie.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Anything else, council?
Not,
Yes.
not for BADC,
okay.
thank you. If I could ask a question about the contract for the cloud software for cemeteries. There are a couple of things that look like they're included, but they're $0, like the core data migration. There's this, something about public, it says it's quantity 1, and then the amount is 0. Walk to site is 0. SemCare partner support is 0. Are all of these things included as part of the contract, but just at no cost to us?
Yeah, most of those are. So you can see, for example, on Walk to Site, it says below that it says discounted down from 2,000.
Okay,
Keep Safe Memorials discounted down from 2,000. And then there's some, on page 20 of the packet, you can see some optional add-on modules that are not included. So those are zeroed out. So yeah, it's a mix of both, Counselor.
okay. Okay, great. Well, the one that I was most concerned about is the core data migration, but do we have any, or someone's going to have to put things into an Excel
Yeah,
spreadsheet for it
that's
to
the
be
thing.
uploaded?
We don't have, all our cemetery records are either handwritten on old books or note cards or on individual Word documents, which they can't migrate. So we are going to be, and I missed the last cemetery committee meeting, but one of our asks of them will be to have them help us collect the data. So we have basically a template from this company that gives us the data fields that we can collect, and we will choose the ones that we want to keep. And so we will have someone literally going to every gravestone and inputting those data points for, who's buried, dates, name, all of that. And we'll be combining, it'll be a combination of the paper records we have plus someone having to walk the sites as well. So it's going to be a pretty labor-intensive project, but we think we have some really dedicated cemetery committee members. We expect that there might be some other interested members of the public who will want to help. I know there's the gentlemen who do the flags for veterans are also, they're not part of the committee, but they've also expressed a strong interest in helping. So, yeah, we'll be doing a lot of that manually.
Okay.
There's just no other way to do it.
Yeah.
It's, yes.
Just a request follow on that just occurred to me as we're doing this. I don't know if any of those records would end up in the historic bucket, but if they are, a plea to save
We'll save them, yeah.
some of the oldest
Absolutely.
pieces, and I'm happy to help figure out that assessment
to.
out if you get there.
Happy to. Yeah. Be glad to get rid of them.
I didn't mean take them, I meant.
No, you accepted them.
Decided, no.
I think you accepted them.
Wait a minute. Help decide if they are worth keeping.
I don't know legally, can you do that?
Can you what?
Get rid of, like, when you digitize deeds? You can't get rid of them. So as much as you might be excited, some of them are original deeds and you actually can't. You actually
I think I meant more
still.
like early plot maps and anything that helped with the development of the
It's,
cemetery as an historic.
And we had a lengthy conversation at the last cemetery commission meeting about, it's going to be a big task, but it's a really neat piece of software. I mean, literally, someone will be able to go online, and if they want to know where someone is buried, you can type in their name. You can get a list. It will tell you, you can actually upload a digital photo of the gravesite if you want to. I'm not sure how, it's just an interesting, I'm really excited about using the software, getting our records digitized. Really, we're one really bad day away or one fire day away from having no records in terms of where people are buried. So there's a lot of, we talked about possibly, there could be some students, some interns next summer who might be interested in Hope Cemetery and might be interested in walking the cemetery so that we can, because obviously you want to make sure that data is correct. So someone will have to literally go grave by grave, and when they're standing in front of a grave, pull up that person's name and make sure it's giving them the correct gravesite. But it's exciting stuff, and glad we're finally doing it. Yes?
Did that program have the ability to add on, say, Elmwood and say Monica?
It's for all three, yeah.
All three?
We bought it for all three, yep, absolutely.
Like, they say Monica's is a mess.
Yes, Yeah, they all definitely need them, and we priced out for Just Hope, but we figured it was worth having it for all three cemeteries, because they're all in the same boat.
Yeah, especially for tourists.
Yeah, yeah.
And I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but I think the reason St. Monica's, you just said they're a mess. I think the reason is that when the city took over that cemetery, we didn't get a lot of those records. They
Correct,
had
yeah.
been
So we have-
lost previously.
We have maps,
Right.
physical maps, and it shows empty lots on there, but some of them aren't empty.
Right.
So that's why when the city took it over, we said, there's no selling of lots going forward.
Gotcha. Okay, any other discussion about item 4 of the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, motion carries. Council, we're at item 4A on the agenda. We'll be approving the city warrants of the week of 8/6/25 and ratifying the week of 7/23/25 and 7/30/25. A motion would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed?
And I'm abstaining.
And your abstention is noted.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. For item 4A.
Well, because it's the whole thing.
The whole thing also, it's just.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
wrote them
mine
all,
is
we
just-
wrote them all as one.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And you're up.
It's going to be very brief tonight. I just want to remind people, August 15th is the due date for your first quarter tax payment. There are few different ways to pay that. You can come into the office and pay with cash or check. You may use our drop box that is to the right of the front doors with a check. I do not advise putting cash in there. Or you can go online and pay online with our Express Pay program. There's also a third way, but I think right now it's a little too late, but for future payments, we do have ACH abilities. You can use automatic debit from your banking account just by providing us with your routing number and your account number. It's a little too late for this quarter, but for the next 3 quarters and going forward, it remains in effect until you tell us not to. But that's a great option for you as well, and that makes sure your payments are on time.
And then you sent a note regarding voter list challenges today?
That was for the BCA.
Yeah, I realize that, but just to let
Yes,
folks know that it's going on.
We are doing a checklist weeding out. We want to give out challenge letters for those who have not voted in at least 2 general elections. We do realize that some people do not vote general elections and they just vote locally. So we tried to also consider those votes as being active voters as well. However, the state of Vermont, when you do your download for the report, they go by strictly the general election voting. We also are weeding out anybody who has passed, making sure that we have removed those names as well. And we're currently going through PTTRs for people who have sold their homes and have moved out of the area. Those will be definitely challenge letters. There are some members of the community that don't own homes, however, they have moved. And for us to put this list out there to all of the BCA members, you know your areas more than we do. If you know somebody has definitely moved, that's a notation you can make on the list. Yes, they have definitely moved. Please let's send them a letter. And we are required to send them a letter and wait for a response. Even if you know they've moved to Florida, you have to have the response back from them to say, hey, remove me. Yes.
How do you know someone died? I mean, it sounds kind of simple, right?
We are
But-
notified on almost a weekly basis of those who have passed that have lived in Barre City. You also have the ability to just download the list for a date. You can set a date for a year and just go through the list. And then I get on the VEM's website, and I make sure it's actually who they say it is. I match up birth dates, I match up addresses, just to make sure, because there's multiple John
yeah.
Smiths, and so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. That was informative. Appreciate it. You don't have anything under liquor and cannabis control?
not this week.
Okay. Mr. Manager, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. So just want to let council know that I did attend the first round of FEMA buyouts closing this last week, and we have several more scheduled. So the first rounds, these were the first rounds related to 2023 flood buyouts. They occurred on August 1st. Have several more dates planned and scheduled in August and into September. And as you know, as we've mentioned, this is 2 years out from the event, which is what we've been sharing with the residents. That it's a long process, and we're right around at the time frame that we had shared it would be occurring. So we expect more to be scheduled in the coming weeks. There now, a lot of these places have gone through appraisals, so we are being flexible, and we're it's a pretty time consuming. It's these closings occur in Burlington. So it's we're trying to cluster them several at a time, and I believe we're up to, I think we're now 8 that have been either closed or scheduled. So they are starting to move pretty quickly. I attended the Vermont Economic Progress Council meeting regarding the Seminary Street project last week. Myself, Carol Dawes, and Stephanie Clark presented the Seminary Street project. We answered questions about it from the board. VEPSI was not able to have their vote because that was their own internal issue with materials being prepared for them. But all members expressed admiration for the project, very happy. The idea of doing infill development on an underutilized parking lot building. 32 units was, they thought this is great, this is what we should be doing. So
we approved that today.
They're going to approve it at their August meeting, which I believe is August 28th.
Gotcha.
So yeah, very, very happy with the presentation there, very happy with the reception, and we're really, really eager to see this moving forward at every step. And then finally, the paving schedule. DPW worked to prepare Berlin, Allen, and Prospect Streets for paving. Our contractor will be in on this Friday, to grade Allen and Berlin, and they will do base on Allen and Berlin next week. They will be back the second week of September to finish all the paving, which also includes the addition of Quarry Street. So paving up ahead and almost will be done for the season, which will be very nice.
Fantastic. Any questions, folks?
When was they're gonna finish it? You said September?
They'll be back the second week of September.
I'm getting a lot of questions.
Yep, absolutely, yeah. Second week of September, they'll be back. Base will be done on Allen and Berlin, and then everything will be finished that second week of September. They'll probably be here for a couple of weeks at that point.
Any other questions? Yes.
I know we talked probably about a month ago at this point, about possibly redesigning that Allen and Prospect bump out to get a crosswalk at the very least over there. You said you were going to update me and us when that was coming close.
Yeah, I think they're working on that as part of the road prep, so that should be coming up. I'll get an update from Brian, but that's definitely on their schedule for all the work that's happening in that area this summer.
Can we get some kind of confirmation that we can do a crosswalk at least?
Yep.
I mean, whether it's putting another slab of pavement on the other side of Allen Street, so it makes that landing, just something that it's not safe.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Manager. Moving right along, council, we'll move to item 8A on the agenda. This is the Flood Resiliency Plan update. Councilor Guston?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Part of our flood resiliency plan calls for infill development in Barre City, recognizing that we need more housing and that it would ideally be situated where there are already services and infrastructure built, that is one avenue to pursue for housing. So I believe Tess Taylor is here from the city's Housing Task Force to talk about where things are headed with, if you'll remember, we had a really cool infill analysis study presented by the Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission, and the Housing Task Force is taking that to the next step now. So, yes, thank you. I'm sorry, Sam Stockwell is also a member of the Housing Task Force and the infill study group.
Hi. Tess Taylor, what am I today? Housing and Homelessness Liaison for the City of Barre.
Sam Stockwell, member of the committee.
And we have been meeting since that infill study that you mentioned, Counselor. I gave you guys a little timeline. It's very broad, but it'll give you an idea of what we're thinking. So we have been trying to decipher this tool that the CVRPC gave us. It's pretty dense and interesting. So from that then until this summer, we've been working as the whole housing task force, which is about 10, 12 members at this point. And then we decided to put together just an infill study group from 4 of those members plus myself. So Sam Stockwell's on it, Will Eberly from Capstone, who's working on housing, Josh Jerome from BADC. So glad that there's somebody's there in that seat to help with this. It's a really great addition. And Angie Harbin from Downstreet. So this summer, we're up until September, we're going to be looking at trying to identify potential properties. And we thought we would start with municipal properties because it's the shorter list, and frankly, the city owns it. So are there some possibilities on that list? When they did the infill study, this would be from your packets in November, they had 140, we know that we have 141 parcels that the city owns in the city. But many of those properties are not really viable. They have a lot of constraints, whether it's slope constraints or floodplain and different properties. So we came down to 19 is what the data shows. But even of that, only 10 were really viable because of being size. But then you look at what it could be, it would include our parks too. So we probably would want to take those off the table. And, but not my decision, right? So I have a list in front of me that were identified, but also the group identified some properties that maybe they thought fell outside of their parameters, but we might be able to look at. So we have about 5-ish properties that we're thinking of, and but we want to do a little bit more work on that by doing a good walkabout and studying the properties. You have ideas about things being viable, but then you realize that maybe this is not going to work, or see something that you didn't think of that might work. So we're going to.
Are these city properties or properties that residents currently own?
Yeah, we're just talking about the municipal properties right now.
I thought so.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So, doing a walkabout and studying those properties, because we have to see if there's any infrastructure issues, all sorts of, as you know, all the variables that can be that could be considered. So we could probably have more information for you. We could do a next meeting, but we could also do it in September. I think that would be probably more reasonable. What do you think, Sam?
I think by September, we could identify some municipal properties that could easily be put up for sale, that look like they're completely workable, there's nothing entangling them, but it does require more research than what we have. It's a great start. It's a really helpful list, but it needs people to walk around. We need to do further research. And I think we could identify those properties and offer them for sale for very little, and that would be an easy way to develop some housing.
Yeah.
So you went from 141 to 19 to 10 to 5.
Well, yeah.
Anything going to happen next week?
I don't know, but the thing is that this is looking at the smallest, most contained group is the municipal properties, because now, once we do that, we can start looking at the residential properties that are owned And I think there's a lot of possibilities there. And which brings me to September to June 2026. We're going to have a lot of work to do for public awareness, for figuring out, there probably will be entities that we would try to directly contact and talk to versus having an educational, training, informational activities for people to understand what it is, what potential is for their properties. And that would include having resources for what funding possibilities, might be there for them to help allay costs. We could talk about, we had some thoughts about the revolving loan fund, which hasn't really been tapped, and maybe this could be a way to use it. There might be some ways to use it to help with permitting costs or, some kind of infrastructure costs. There might be some opportunities for the city to lay out some resources that could be then reimbursed by the state. I think there's possibilities there to think about. I don't have anything specific. And then we also talked about really having some good packet of materials for people to pick up when they're in the permitting office, when we're going around and talking to people. But what a toolkit, what are you going to need to do this work, and what is available to be helpful? And to take away this idea that, it's just going to be too difficult and too expensive. We did get a presentation from CVRPC to our committee in June, and they talked about, they did a little bit of an ADUs challenge, and they found 5 properties and things that worked for people, and they're very specific properties, and things that didn't, and how they could get past that. So I think that we have some really good resources, and we have some really good partners that can help with this. But I think it's going to be a heavy lift campaign to get people to flip to the idea of increasing living units on their properties. And then there's the challenge. And so I put X number of units by April 2028, and I just want us all to think about that. Like, what do we think is a challenge, but not something that's so insurmountable? Some people say 5, some people say 25, some people say, but what really, what would Lee like to go for? Because I think sometimes when you have that incentive to go get that goal, then your steps to it become very clear to you.
Yes.
Question about the city properties that you talked about, the 5. Are those single family? Are we talking small apartment, like duplexes, multi-family? What are we, like, I don't know how big the lots are, but.
They're varied in size. Like there's a Merchant Street apartment, property that's really 3 lots put together. That's pretty large. And I think you can't really do it from the Merchant Street side, but I think you could from the Cleary Street side. So that could be something larger. And I think, we're sort of focusing on trying to get it down to 5, but I think there may be more there, but it really takes more work than we have yet put into it. So, and one of the things that the committee is going to do is to develop a housing plan that encompasses all the strategies we've been talking about. So that we could present it to council, and you can look at it and say, that sounds good. Which will be, how many ADUs do we think we could get? How many subdivisions, how many municipal properties, and what could they contain? So I think that sort of specific plan would be very useful for us to have as a draft to look at.
And to your question, I think that, so there are some of these that seem to lend themselves to a single or maybe 1 or 2 tiny homes, something that's, so it's going to be creative, because I think that if we had a lot to work with, we would have done it already, like we are with Seminary Street.
Yeah.
True. The goal, I think that's, without additional data, without knowing what those lots are, it's difficult to put a number on it. I know it wasn't that long ago, there was a white paper floated that said 500 homes in 5 years.
Right.
And
Yeah.
we built 9.
Uh-huh.
So I think I'd rather wait. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, manager's going to get into our DR applications here in a little bit, and we have been really aggressive on the housing side.
Yeah.
Because we need a lot of housing, and appropriately, because 61% of the currently available funds are available for housing, and only 22% is available for mitigation and infrastructure.
So I think that we want to help with creating some language around housing and planning. So that's what we really want to be working on for the next few weeks, so that we can have something to add to the CDBG
Looking
DR.
forward to it. Yes.
Sorry, follow-up question, or follow-up questions. I'm not sure if I have been presented this information, I do not recall it, so I just apologize up front. But is there a way to know how much, of like unused commercial space that could be converted? Is there a way to know how many empty apartments we already have currently in the city? Is there a way to know that information? Because we're talking about, we need more housing, but I keep hearing different competing things, that we have more housing, it's just not necessarily being rented. So how do we attack that?
Yeah, that's not specifically infill, but that is part of what our committee talks about, is working on. And it really is another campaign, because I've been a landlord, you've been a landlord, some others may have been landlords here, and we know the ups and downs, and I think there are some ideas out there about tenants and landlord relationships that can be changed, maybe are outdated, and we can speak to that about, and what kind of help people can get. I think some of the fears are people-driven. Some of the fears are, if I want to open my apartments back up to renting, I'm going to have to go through an inspection, and I'm going to have to do a lot of permitting, and there's going to be a lot of costs involved in me maybe bringing my electric utilities up to code, whatever it is. I've had to do things like redo my porch so that I could have railings that are high enough and safe enough for a 4-year-old child to be walking around on it. So sometimes that's the thing that takes it off the table right off the bat. Is there something that we as a city could do and talk about for helping with those issues? Maybe, maybe not, but those are the things that we should be trying for. Because I do agree, and we do have data for empty units, for residential units.
Okay.
It's actually a really good question, Counselor, because, so we do have, for example, we know where there are what we call abandoned or underutilized properties, and Janet has that list. You'd be surprised how many there are on it. We don't really have an accurate, without really doing a deep dive, we don't have an accurate way to figure out if there is, for example, a duplex where one side is not being rented because the owners made that choice. But I don't know that, maybe people would let us know if we, you talk about a public outreach campaign, if we said, look, do you know of a housing unit that isn't being rented for any reason? And we don't need to know the owner, just give us the address, we can figure the rest out. And I think the reasons that you cited, Tess, where folks get intimidated, they don't want to go through an inspection, they have the wrong idea. If a unit fails inspection, they don't kick you out of the house, you just can't rent the unit. And I think a lot of people don't understand that, so I think as part of that public awareness campaign, and I think that's a really good question and a really good resource. I mean, we all know where there are vacant properties. One of the other issues that I worked on years ago, but I got nowhere with it, was it's always frustrating to me when someone literally abandons a property, moves out, they're gone, they're not even in Barre anymore, And it literally takes the bank, because now it's electronic mortgage companies that might be in Tennessee, it literally takes them 2 years to go through the foreclosure process. Not because the courts are holding them up, because they don't care. It's a rounding error to, a big mortgage company. So they'll let that property sit vacant for a year before it finally gets to somebody's desk and they do something about it. So that's frustrating as well. Matter of fact, that was the case, I don't know if you recall the 2 gentlemen that were in here not that long ago. Yeah, the manager did follow up, and the manager followed up with me. And as it turns out, yes, the property is abandoned. Yes, the property is not secure. The city inspection team reached out to the bank that holds a mortgage on the property, and the bank denied that they held the mortgage on the property. Couldn't even get them to admit it. And finally, they assured them, well, here's your mortgage. You actually hold the mortgage on this property. And I think to this day, the bank hasn't done anything. Now, we secured it as a city. We secured it. So, somebody's going to have to pay that bill. There's a lot of frustrating factors. So I think as part of the public outreach campaign, we could maybe incorporate a few of these things.
I think some creative financing.
Yeah, but that was a great observation. Yes?
I would just add that another section of the flood resiliency plan that we added with this most recent go-around was to look harder at abandoned and derelict properties and figure out how we could strengthen ordinance around them. I think the situation that you described, where there is an out-of-town owner, it's a bank who just doesn't care, there might be some ways we can explore making them care, making it hurt enough for them to care, I don't know, as long as we weren't punishing like people who are just down on their luck in the meantime. So I'm hoping that Planning Commission is going to take that up soon and get started on that conversation, so.
Yeah, and that's always been the rub. We've talked about that before over the years and you just said it yourself, I don't want to be mean to somebody who's down on their luck. Well, whether someone is down on their luck or intentionally ignoring a property, you have to treat them the same.
It's a tough line.
But we do have ordinances. I mean, certainly to have a property secure, you have to have, the property's got to be locked. It's got to be secure. And if it's not, and if someone is living there and they're a little down on their luck, I'm sure they have a lock on their door. Banks, probably not so much. So what we normally do is we'll secure the property and then we file a lien in the land record. So eventually, it may take a while, but eventually the city will get paid if we have to step in and do things. Yeah. Anything else? Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We will.
So, Council, I do think, do we have an action item on this?
No.
Okay, so that was just okay, because this is and I was confused. I was struggling with this myself, because this is the All In for Barre Housing Task Force. So you're not really appointees of the Barre City Council.
No, it's the same,
Yeah.
it's the same as the river.
Yeah, and thank you for providing me, because honestly, I had forgotten who served on that.
Yeah.
It had been a while.
Yeah.
And then I think, Sam, you had started a social media page a while back.
Oh, yeah.
But that hadn't been posted to since 2023. So I'm sure, no, that's okay. Hey, we all get busy, so I was just looking, I'm like, well, I know they've been doing stuff. Where do I find it?
Yeah.
And I couldn't find it anywhere. So I'll look forward to getting more information.
Yeah, in those meetings that we've been calling ad hoc, so we probably, the bigger housing task force, probably we should start formalizing
That's okay.
a day that we, but because
They're
I would
always
love to
interesting.
invite people, council members, but also the public to join us in those meetings. We've gotten some really great information from people who've just, decided to stop in, and we've had some people go and some people have come, and, so it's fluid, but we love all that input, because that's what we're trying to do here, is not, do it some kind of 3 people have the best idea for what Barre should do, but we would like to hear from as many as possible. So,
Perfect.
yeah.
Thank you again.
Oh,
Can I ask a question on that?
Oh, of course you can.
So if somebody wanted to get involved, how would they get a hold of you directly?
absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Des. Thank you, Sam.
Okay, Council, we're at item 8B on the agenda. We're going to be discussing the CDBG, DR applications. So basically, this is, we'll just call it the Washington County grants. I just want to say thank you before we begin. Thank you to Nicholas and to John and to Amanda, to Councilor Guston, to Josh Jerome, to Pat Moulton. They have been working incredibly hard over the last couple of weeks. We've been, Councilor Guston and I have been on their email chain as a need for information. Like literally this morning, it was, what's the federal ID number for Prospect Heights development? Yeah. And what's the federal ID number for Barre area development? So again, being an accountant, I know how to go to the IRS page and look them right up. So I was able to provide that. But they have been, I'm actually kind of amazed that we pulled it off. I mean, there was that much work in these pre-applications. So I just want to say, Nicholas, thank you. Great, and not just Nicholas, all the folks that I mentioned, just really an incredible team effort. But as incredible as this effort was, we have 55 days to submit the complete applications, which are quite a bit more lengthy, quite a bit more detailed, quite a bit more involved. So congratulations, but the work has just begun.
Just beginning.
So if you want to take it from
Thank you,
here.
Mayor. Appreciate that. Yeah, and it was a great team effort, and I think we did a lot of good pre-applications in the hopper here for the state to look at. So, Council, I sent you a PowerPoint earlier this afternoon. As I mentioned in the packet memo, the submission deadline was today, so we were going to be working up through this morning to get this in. So I wasn't able to get anything in the packet for you. But here is just a high level of the CDBG-DR program. There's $67.8 million and change available from HUD. This is specifically for response to the 2023 floods. And the idea is for expenses related to disaster relief, long-term recovery, restoration of infrastructure and housing, economic revitalization of the most impacted and distressed areas. As the mayor alluded to, of the $67.8 million, 54 million and change must be used to specifically serve among two areas of, a zip code in Lamoille County and all of Washington County. So we are in good shape to get a good chunk of this money. Just some high-level information about the process itself. So there's 2 rounds of applications that the state has has announced. The first round, which we're shooting to get everything in for that first round, because the reality is you never know how much money is going to be around for the second round. So we're gonna our goal is to get everything in for the first round, and that deadline for the application submission is September 30th, with a decision on November 20th. And the second round, if there are any applications that we would do in that round, would be due December 18th with a decision on February 19th. The pre-applications that we submitted today were required, and they were, as I mentioned, due by today. And just it's not on here on the slide, but we will be having a public hearing. I believe the state rules require us to do that on September 23rd. So there will be a public hearing required, and that's when we're making sure that we're compliant with all the rules. And I believe at this point, September 23rd is a date of a scheduled council meeting where we can also double up and have that hearing. The grant funds must be spent and projects must be completed 6 years after the award. And as you all know, we've discussed these projects at several meetings, not just specifically meetings about CDBG-DR, but these projects in one form or another have been topics of discussion sometimes for years at this point. So I don't think there's really any surprises in what we've submitted.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Pre-applications are required. What's the reason? Is just so they know what's coming?
Yeah, I believe it's for the state to know what's in the works. Yeah.
Okay.
It's, so they're scored by a citizen board first. Then the final decision rests with the administration in terms of who is awarded. And I think it's exactly that, exactly as the manager just said. We're hearing different things, Plainfield is submitting this, Barre is submitting this. It's going to be very competitive, and there are communities that are going to be able to make a compelling case. And I think Barre is one of those communities. I mean, we lost housing in the 23 flood. I'm not aware, and again, not trying to minimize suffering, I'm not aware of any other community that actually lost housing units in the 23 flood. Certainly in the 24, Plainfield did, no doubt about it. But you aware, Councilor Justin?
Johnson.
Johnson did as well? Yeah, so there are communities that, but again, there are two that actually saw decreased housing. So one of the questions, so I know the reason for the pre-application, when you look at what the state has made available, they really leaned into housing. 61% out of the 55 million, 33 million, 240,000 is housing. So they leaned big time into providing housing across the state. We lost housing. Interestingly, infrastructure, a lot of people would say, well, why didn't you do more for infrastructure? There's only, 22% of the 55 million, or $12 million is for infrastructure, which is not only mitigation, but also, we had a road washed out. There's only $12 million throughout the entire, and that's going to be extremely competitive as well. So interestingly, as Nicholas goes through our applications, we actually followed that state formula. We looked, we leaned heavy into housing because the state wants us to lean heavy into housing. We would have loved to have submitted, we'd love to see the state have $50 million available for infrastructure mitigation. They don't. So our applications sort of mirror what ACCD, what the Agency of Commerce and Community Development and the administration told municipalities throughout Washington County they wanted us to do, and that's what we did.
If I'm
Yeah, of course.
Another
Yeah,
thing
follow
I'm
up.
hoping for relative to the pre-applications is feedback on the pre-applications. We've had some conversations, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more when we look at the projects, about like question marks in our head about like what fits with the program rules. And I think that's going to be a useful conversational piece so that we can prepare the best possible final application.
One answer I'm still waiting for is, let's say they love Prospect Heights. Hey, we think it's a great idea. You submitted a $5 million application. Holy cow, we have so much need within Washington County. One of the questions I had for the secretary is, will you come back to a municipality and say, as you just said, we can't give you 5.5, but we can give you 3.2. And matter of fact, she texted me today, and she tried to call this afternoon, but I was out. So I'll get that answer tomorrow. When it's too late, yes.
If I could follow up though, you're saying that the pre-applications, you actually get feedback?
We're hoping for it.
Oh, you're hoping
We're
for it. We
hoping.
don't know if we will. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
That's the only reason I could think. I mean, they're pretty involved.
Yeah, it doesn't make
Honestly,
sense
I
to
mean,
pre-application
we've all
otherwise,
been
honestly.
brainstorming and on Zoom calls, and, while, you'd probably want to know if all of a sudden, the pre-applications are mandatory, they were due today. So today, because of the system we use, I guarantee you, the state knows the total ask across Washington County. Somebody pushed that button and said, okay, we've got 54,276,000, and there is $160 million in ask. Somebody's got we're going to get those numbers probably in the next couple of weeks. So that's a great question, Counselor, but that's the only reason I could think why they would require it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next slide. So I'm going to go into a summary of the applications by category. So this is the big bucket, housing. As the mayor mentioned, we are really close alignment to the proportions of how the state is allocating the funding. This is just slightly high of, we have about 25 million and change, which is about slightly higher than 60% of our total ask. And this is split into 3 projects. So the first is 143 North Main Street, where we are requesting $4.61 million. And this is proposing an equity partnership to develop a multi-story building on the former J.J. Newberry site, and looking to do workforce, senior, affordable housing, all the types of housings that we're short of. The second project, also very familiar, is Prospect Heights. This is a request for the balance between what we've received from Northern Border Regional Commission and the state. And so this is a 5.2 million and change request based on the total estimate that we received from the final report of the due diligence. And this is, the project here is to build the infrastructure to develop a 91-unit subdivision off of Prospect Street. So this is both single and multi-family units. And as you know, this already has some significant funding from other sources. And then the North End Gateway project, the total amount here is $15.21 million. This is a big project, and after discussing with, asking the state about this and talking sort of with Jim and Josh and Pat and brainstorming, decided to submit this as one whole project. I know that the council had at one point discussed whether we break these up or do one. We thought it was important to do the whole vision because these things move together. So what this project includes is a mid-rise 64-unit, 5-story building on the Wabi Park site, acquisitions for redevelopment of flood-resilient housing. So this is when we've talked about buying clusters on the north end of people who've requested to leave the area, we would acquire their properties. And there is a provision in CDBGDR to acquire and then redevelop. The challenge is that they will only fund current fair market value. FEMA buyouts will do the market value the day before the flood. So there may be a delta that needs to be found, but it's better to find the delta than to find the whole funding. We would, doing those acquisitions, we'd also look to build a daycare site and a grocery store in the neighborhood, and then also create some recreational spaces and green spaces floodplain, primarily along properties along 302, and those could be buyout. So that would be the market value the day before the flood, because those would have no development limitations, right? If we're building floodplain, we don't care if they're undeveloped in the future. The change here, so we, as many of you know, we've talked about Wabi Park and having a partnership with Downstreet. We've sort of shifted a little bit here, and this was really due to site control. The biggest site that we have control of is Wabi Park, and so this is going to allow us to build some significant housing on that site. Talk to Downstreet about this. They're perfectly fine with the shift, as they were doing this project because we'd asked them to do something. We had trouble getting anybody to bite on that site. So our vision here has changed a little bit, and that's to try to get the denser housing on that location because we have site control there, and that's the one site where we can guarantee sort of enough of a parcel to do something of that significance. So,
right. And we also, when we ran through the different scenarios, we sort of circled back to the neighborhood meeting in the North End, where the neighbors were saying, at first, no, we don't know if we like the idea of a big apartment building. And then they kind of warmed up to it as the meeting went on. But one thing that was very clear, they didn't want it smack in the middle of the neighborhood. So we thought about it and we said, well, what if we bookend things? What if we have, we have the Manor, which is, this building that we envisioned is a mid-rise. It's 5 stories, not 10. So take a look at Northbury Manor, put your hand up on the first 5 stories, and that's how high it would be, not intrusive. But it was really in response to the neighborhood saying, we like the idea of more housing. We need more housing in the North End, but we also want to retain the neighborhood. So Downstreet, when we pivoted, and we talked to Angie about this, we said, well, what if we could acquire sites within the neighborhood? And that's where you do the shared, that's where you do your thing. Instead of doing the 4 homes at Wabi Park, you do maybe 6 or 8 within the neighborhood. And then in addition to that, the neighborhood did not walk away empty-handed because we also envisioned a certain amount of money to do additional elevations and work within the neighborhood, as well as some flood mitigation. So that $15 million number that you see, that does include some flood mitigation in the North End, that green space, that concave green space in there as well.
Next category is infrastructure. And so this includes a $5 million project for stormwater upgrades across the city. So the idea here is we would use the results of our hydrology and stormwater studies that we've commissioned to fund the highest priority stormwater projects from those reports over several years, right? So these are really undefined because they would be based on the information we get back and the areas that would be of the highest benefit to make improvements. We submitted funding, a project to fund the balance of the auditorium project match. So as you know, we got a congressionally directed spending grant a few years ago from Senator Sanders that was sort of put on hold after the flooding. And we would request we are able to proceed without a match. It just has to, that would basically just end up scaling down the how much we could do there, but we figured this is a rare opportunity to match federal money with other federal money. We can ask for the match here and do all of the range of upgrades we wanted to do there. That's an important facility, not just recreation-wise. It's really important for that, but it's also our regional shelter, right? So really important to have that site have the best HVAC, ADA. That helps it operate as a regional shelter. We had a $3 million project to do, create an expansion of floodplain and culvert work on the Potash Brook area, which is also, sort of has been, hate to say forgotten, but it hasn't gotten the attention that the North End has. And so I think this is a good way to address also a neighborhood that got significant impact from the 23 flood. And then we added 2 projects. These were the 2 projects that sort of ranked lowest on the Vermont Emergency Management's HMGP list, the Willie Street Bridge and the Harrington Avenue debris rack projects. So these are, as you know, these are the ones that were two of our top 3 projects for hazard mitigation grant funding. They ranked sort of lower priority from Berlin Street, and so this was a good opportunity to try to have another chance at funding for those because they may be less likely to get hazard mitigation funding at this point. So that's for the infrastructure. And then there's 2 planning grants, both $250,000 each. The first is the Downtown Housing Planning Grant, and this is to address some of the things that Councilor Spalding mentioned earlier, which is to figure out underutilized upper floors, give us guidance and help us to incentivize development of those spaces, and then the Grand List Strategic Planning Grant to help us, to protect and grow the Grand List, and especially now at a time where we're going to be losing some of that due to the buyouts. So these were the 2 planning grants that were included in our application. And then just a bottom line summary. We are over $40 million. And 25 million of that is in housing, 15 million of that is in infrastructure, and then, of course, the 2 planning grants coming in at $500,000. So all of these were submitted this morning, and we will certainly keep you apprised as we hear anything from the state, and if hopefully there's feedback associated with them and guidance from the state to make them as strong as possible. So that's it.
Yes.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Can you just remind me which brook is the Potash Brook versus the
Potash.
Potash.
Where are you from, Argentina? You pronounce it potash.
Wait. Nicholas, is that how you pronounce it?
That's how I pronounce it.
That must be the right way then.
It's a long O in Argentina, so.
So, because it's Elmwood and Potash?
Potash, yeah. Potash is the one that comes down alongside Delmont and then runs through Courier Park.
And then Elmwood
comes down East Street.
So down Courier, behind Courier, like a parallel to Courier?
They meet.
Yeah.
They meet at the bottom of Courier and
Potash and
Elmwood, right?
Edgewood.
Yeah, Edgewood, I'm sorry, yeah, not Elmwood.
So Edgewood comes down by our house.
Right.
That's the Edgewood Brook.
Yes.
And then when it gets down to right around Courier Park, the Potash meets it.
So the Potash is the one that comes down Courier Street, where the landslide was?
Yes, that's the
I thought it was
Potash.
the other way, yeah.
No,
I
the
thought it was the
Edgewood
other
is
way around.
definitely, Lieutenant
Okay,
Governor
either
drowned the
way.
Edgewood Brook.
We are, we're dealing with the Courier Park Brook.
But we're talking about from where it actually meets from Courier Park, not where further up.
So just to be like more specific about what that project includes, these were sites that were identified by the river folks as likely floodplain sites. Jefferson Avenue. There was a likely floodplain site there. There's a likely floodplain site up by Nelson Avenue, and the debris catcher they're looking at is on Delmont. Whatever we want to call those, Brooks.
Okay.
Those are the three sites
Okay.
of infrastructure work, as well as the actually channelized portion of that riverway that goes through, sort of, it wends through all that housing.
Yeah.
That is on Courier Park, and then eventually that brook goes underneath
city.
the back parking lots.
I was just trying to make sure, I was trying to understand which one we were talking about. Okay,
We're really talking about all of it.
right, okay,
But the,
thank you.
yeah, I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying. There's limited opportunities for meaningful water storage until you get about to the Lincoln School ball field.
Yeah.
And then it opens up. And then once you go past the cemetery and you're going down Delmont, there's really no opportunity there. So there's limited opportunities, but I think it could be a great project.
Thank you.
So as you saw from the managers, we tried to keep our applications sort of in line. I'm not sure with the administration. I've got to believe, because they literally had, in the state report, they had, and I shared this at the forum that you and Councilor Hillgartner had, I shared, this with you. And I had just taken the state form and then said, okay, well, they had like administration, planning, housing, infrastructure. Well, clearly, and then the CDBG are set aside. So I got to believe that some of those projects can migrate. Like, does administration, like if you had a $10 million housing project with $1 million of administration, does that mean, can you pull some out of your housing bucket and put it? I didn't get a great answer to that question either, which is, again, why I think the pre-applications were necessary. But look, this was, I don't know if all of you have seen the pre-application form. It was 3 or 4 pages long. Again, within the, the North Berry bucket, so to speak, we had the childcare facility, we had the equity, the grocery store, the equity partnership for a 64-unit building, the development of flood retention, green space recreation path going along 302, acquiring abandoned, underutilized homes, raise them and reconstruct flood resilience. So we had a lot of projects. It wasn't like, it was one application, but there was a lot of thought that went into it. So, again, Nicholas, thank you to you and your team. It was just, I know what an incredible amount of work it was, and I couldn't be more thrilled that I understand that $41 million is a big ask. But if you don't ask, you won't get. Right. And so thank you again to you and your team for getting those applications in, because that, this could really be pivotal for the city. It could be transformative. I know we hear that word a lot, but this really could. This could be the start of some really, really good stuff in the city. So any other questions, council, for Nicholas?
No questions. I'll just say I'm super excited about this list. I think this is a phenomenal list. I'm thrilled we got to 40 million. I think I said in council a while back, I'd be happy if we submitted for 50. And I think this is a really, really good shot. And one other thing I've been thinking about a lot too is that we've put a lot of work and time and thought into these applications. Some of them won't succeed, but we'll be able to turn these projects around again and again and again now that we've put in the work to define them, to scope them out, and to have them vetted by public process. We'll be looking for every grant opportunity that comes down the pike for anything that doesn't succeed in this round. So lots of opportunity.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, I think it was you asked me who the citizen committee is. I don't know. I think they're probably sequestered. So they can't, they probably won't tell. No one will tell, I'm sure. I'm not on it, that's for sure, because I just give the whole 55 million to Barry, but I don't know, and that's a question I haven't asked and I'm not going to ask. So with that, if there's no other questions, council will move on to appointing a temporary committee to draft a long-term redevelopment plan. You want to go through that, Nicholas?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. So this is an item that I'm bringing to you to make our case for this money even stronger. So as we've been pouring through the requirements of this grant program, we've noticed that the universal notice talks about, scoring highly for plans that, housing development plans that have been on a long-term redevelopment plan. Now, we don't have one of those, we don't have a plan called that, but we have a strategic plan, we have a municipal plan, we have a flood resiliency plan. Tess was here earlier, the Housing Task Force did a white paper, 2022 or 2023. We have a real, we've done a lot of thinking around this, we just don't happen to have a document called what they call it in their guidance. I would feel more comfortable if someone had been able to confirm for me at the state that saying we have a municipal plan was good enough. So I'm asking the council to appoint, what I'm asking you to do is to appoint a temporary committee to create a long-term redevelopment plan that would take the housing components of that municipal plan, of the strategic plan, of the flood resiliency plan, of the Housing Task Force white paper, of any other relevant document I may have omitted that is relevant, that's been publicly approved or vetted, and turn it into a 5 to 7 page long-term redevelopment plan. And so that when we do submit our application in September, we can say, we have one of those. And so what I'm recommending to you is a small committee. I've asked Tess to head this because she wears a couple hats in this as our housing and homelessness liaison, but also as the chair of the Housing Task Force since it was created, Tess, or for?
Well, David Sickle, who's
Yeah.
we've asked if he would join the group. He was head of the planning commission. He was the original chair of the Housing Task Force, and I had a band of people under that as the Creative Housing Solutions group.
Mm-hmm.
And then after we presented the white paper, we
Got it.
put those together, brought the creative people up and into the bigger.
So Tess would lead this, and then David Sickle as the chair of the planning commission, or a planning commission designee if he's unable. But I believe he's been asked and he can serve. Suggesting State Rep Teddy Wazazek, who has for his role as a co-chair of the Flood Recovery Caucus. I think having the fact that this is flood recovery funding, it might be helpful to have a co-chair of somebody with a leadership role in the legislature in that position. And then I was going to recommend that two of the councilors be on this. So we'd have a five-member committee. The idea would be that this committee would take those documents, not reinvent the wheel, but basically take the themes that run across all of them, put them into like I said, a 5 to 7 page plan that we can then approve on September 23rd. And when we submit an application on September 30th, we can say, we got one of those, we can check that off. So that's the purpose behind this agenda item. And in the memo, I gave you the citation for this in the universal notice where this long-term redevelopment plan is highlighted.
So if there's no objection, council, I'd like to have myself and Councilor Guston serve as the council liaison. We've been working closely with manager and his team to develop, obviously, our pre-applications, and we'll continue to work closely with them to assist with our final applications. So if you're inclined, the members of this committee would be Ms. Taylor, myself, Councilor Guston, Dave Sitchell. I think Dave is a great choice. We can find an alternate if Dave, I'm sure Dave would, it's going to be limited in duration. We'll just probably do a couple long meetings and that'll be that. And then State Representative Wazazak. So if there's no objection, a motion would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, thank you very much. Thank you, because you're working hard too. Okay, council, we're at item 8D on the agenda. Councilor Hillgartner?
What this is about is that it's come to my attention that some of our actual communications, particularly email, have not complied with the stated policy that's been, that's in our council packet every time we meet, and I think this needs to be addressed. In a recent email interchange between a sitting councilor and a city resident, the councilor in question responded with something that struck me as the kind of trolling post one would expect to find on a toxic social media site, where posters feel empowered to respond disrespectfully and inappropriately because they are effectually anonymous. But we are not anonymous. We are the public face of Barre City, and we owe city residents, regardless of whether they're specifically our constituents, we owe city residents respect, civility, and professionalism in all communications we have with them. As councilors and city officials, we have to recognize that we are lightning rods. It's part of the job. People will express their anger and frustration to us. Sometimes they will not be polite and measured about it. It's our responsibility to model the kind of professional, respectful, civil communication we want others to use with us, and not to descend into the schoolyard level of justification that the other person started it to excuse lapses of courtesy on our part. With email, it's usually a simple matter to delay our response until we can answer in a courteous and measured way. In an open meeting format, it can be harder. But still, in my view, it's not appropriate to mute or dismiss a speaker for not being respectful enough unless they're also given some feedback at the time and an opportunity to rephrase or restate their issue. What I mean by that is that when somebody gets angry and says things in unkind or what we would consider inappropriate ways, yeah, sure, mute them. But tell them, I'm going to give you a few minutes to calm down so that you can, because we have these expectations that our conversation here will be civil. We want to give you a chance to calm down and so that you can express your point in a way that it can be heard. We're going to move on to this person and then we're coming back to you. And do it that way, and then come back to them. If they're still angry, if they're still not able to be respectful, then yes, mute them again and say, we really do want to hear from you. We want your opinion, but at this point, what you need to do is write it down and send it to us all in email, so we'll have it. And then we can move on, because we have this understanding that our conversation here needs to be civil and respectful, and that we need to be the adults in the room and be professional about it. If we're not consistently courteous, respectful, and professional in our communications, then I don't see how we can possibly expect others to maintain those standards. We want public feedback. We want our residents to be engaged and involved in the workings of the city. We make much better decisions when we have a wide range of perspectives to consider. We must always remember that we don't have the only valid opinions, perspectives in the room. So we need to make our council meetings and our email communications vehicles for people to voice different ideas and opposing perspectives. The abrupt silencing of people who try to express their concerns to us does have a chilling effect on public discourse, which is counterproductive. And it leaves us open to the perception, regardless of whether or not it's accurate, the perception that we are manipulating the conversation to silence those who disagree with our policies or positions. As you can tell, I feel very strongly about this issue. Communication is a big part of what I've learned to do in my jobs. So I really think it's incredibly important that we adhere to the format that we've put forward, change it if we're not going to do it that way. It's better to have no policy at all than to have a policy that exists only on paper and isn't enforced.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, council, moving on to item 9 on the agenda, upcoming business. You know, for me, until September 30th, it's still going to be about our applications. Like I said, I'm so proud of the work that Nicholas and his team did, but these are 4 to 5 page applications, and the others are going to be 40 to 50 page applications, along with, the site control I's dotted and T's crossed and all that neat stuff. So really, I've just been keeping my schedule clear, and as I told them this weekend, look, I'm going to monitor my city, I'll have my phone with me, I'm going to monitor my city email if you need anything over the weekend, and that's really the way it's going to be. This is just too important to, in my opinion, to focus on. We got to juggle a little bit, but we got to really focus on this one. Yes?
I have a question, not about, not anything pressing, but I went for a bike ride on Sunday and I rode up by the reservoir in Orange. And it has filled in a lot where it comes down from and I wonder if we've ever talked about like capacity and whether there's any concern about that slowly filling in and our water supply shrinking. This is not like has to be found out, but like in a long-term way, like I didn't even think to ask that when we were doing the water treatment. But I used to live on that road, and so I used to drive by it all the time, and it has changed a lot, and I'm just curious how we're managing that, and if we could just have an update or report
Absolutely.
or something about that sometime, that would be helpful.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Anything else, Council? Yes.
The manager will have to correct me if this has changed, but per my schedule, our next update will be on the revolving loans, the housing revolving loan fund
Yes.
that the city had established.
Yep.
That'll be our next flood resiliency plan update at our next council meeting, so.
Correct.
And Mayor, we will have on the meeting on the 26th, also the water sewer rates need to be set.
Yep.
So we'll be bringing you that, and Treasurer Dawes will be doing a fund update for the council. I think you've probably heard us from time to time talk about the Brusa Trust, the Semper Bond Fund. She's going to update. We've had some turnover on the council, so we want to make sure you're all updated on those funds, and Carol will be here to do that. So.
Perfect. And could you work into, not trying to touch on a sore subject, but we currently have a water agreement with the town of Barre. Could you please provide us with a copy when we set the water and sewer rates so we can chat about that a little bit?
Copy of the water agreement?
Yeah, I mean, as I recall, if the city wants to renegotiate, we literally have to give them 3 years' notice if we want to renegotiate that rate. I don't know that would be an entirely inappropriate thing to do, but, I mean, just to be perfectly candid, these sort of feuds where one municipality selling water to another municipality, these feuds have gone on for decades in Vermont. One of the most recent was the town of Rutland suing the city of Rutland, saying it's not fair, you charge us 20% more for the same water that your residents drink, and that's not fair. And the Supreme Court sided with the the city of Rutland and said, well, sure they can, because they pay for the infrastructure. So, they're entitled to a reasonable return. We currently don't engage in that practice. Town residents who are customers of the city pay the exact same rate the city residents do. And as we look at, raising rates for the citizens who have to pay for the infrastructure, sometimes I question that model. So you could kind of go two ways with it. You can have a reasonable conversation. We could go the Rutland City, Rutland Town way and just say, well, Barre Town, we're going to charge you 25% more. And look, here's the court case, so whatever. Or we could have a more reasonable conversation to say, look, until we go down that road and we give you the 3-year notice of termination, and, can we have a reasonable conversation about how we work together over the next 3 years so that the city residents who paid for the infrastructure are made a little bit more whole. So that's where I'm going with the whole thing. It's not like I got my eyes set on the town of Barre and going to raise all their water rates, but I think it's, I think if you look around the state and you look at municipalities who sell water to other municipalities, there's usually a bit of an upcharge for the infrastructure, and we don't do that at all. So that's the conversation we're going to have. We're not going to war with anybody. We're just going to have a calm conversation about what's best. So, roundtable, who wants to go first? Councilor Ruthier, you got anything?
No, just very happy to see all the construction being done in the Ward 3 area. It's been a long time, it's coming, and they've worked hard. The guys are out there every day, and I appreciate that very much.
Counselor Spalding?
Yeah, I wanted to thank Counselor Hillgardner and everyone who came to our Ward 1 meeting, our first Ward 1 meeting. It was a lot of fun. The mayor attended and people from other wards, and it was really great. It was a small but very interesting discussion, and it was really great. I really appreciated it. And I also just wanted to say I have a lot of favorite events, and so I think I say this all the time, like that's my favorite event. But I went to the Queer Art Festival, which was up in Barrytown this past weekend, and I helped park cars, and it was just a steady stream of cars for the entire hour and a half I was parking. So I think it was very well attended, very well received. I know the winter one is hosted at the Labor Hall, and I'm pointing because it's right here in our own town versus up on the hill at Barrytown. So I would encourage you to support it. It's a lot of fun.
Counselor Bergeron?
Just thanks for having the team in here tonight. Good bunch of kids, so thanks for that.
Counselor Guston?
I will echo what Councilor Spalding said about the Queer Arts Festival. I went towards the end of the day, spent more money than I had intended to on some really cool new art. And then continued my Barry evening with a watch party for the Vermont Green Football Club. That was a blast. And enjoyed the way they won it in the most dramatic fashion possible. So that was a lot of fun. And looking ahead, I do just also want to say I have the honor of serving on the Barry Salvation Army Advisory Board. And this coming Friday, they are going to be doing a Stuff a Truck event up at Walmart for school supplies. So 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. If you go up to Walmart, either bring your stuff up there or buy school supplies up there. And they will be outside ready to receive it for kids that might need school supplies.
Is that for local kids?
Yeah, they'll be distributing within the sort of Barry catchment area. Yep.
Counselor Hillgardner?
Just want to say thank you for the night out and for changing the time of this meeting so we could come and participate in some of that. I appreciate it.
Counselor Deering?
I'll echo that as well with the National Night Out. What a blessed opportunity this evening to hang out with so many in our community, so many of our first responders, to be able to go out and mingle with so many folks. It was really nice to be able to go out there for that first 45 minutes. Thank you for changing that time as well. Different note, next Friday I'll be having an ACL surgery. So I will be out of commission for about a week or so on some crutches and stuff, but I will be available through email and whatnot. So I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. So.
Well,
Good luck.
Yeah.
good luck with that.
Yeah.
The Ward 1 meeting, I enjoyed it. I met some neighbors I didn't know I had. And so that was really fun and informative, so thank you for that. And most importantly, thank you to everyone. Thank you to the organizers. Thank you to the citizens. Thank you to Tracy. Thank you to the vendors. Thank you to everyone who participated in the Heritage Festival or had anything to do with it. It was an incredible event. This is what it's like, and I'm sure all of you think the same way, but you feel this sense of responsibility as mayor. And I always wait for the bad news, for something that went wrong. Someone got hurt, some kid got pitched out of the bouncy house. I always wait for that and think, yeah, God, I just hope we have a safe, fun celebration. And this was a safe, fun celebration. Everyone behaved themselves, even in the beer tent. It was just, everything was just, the parade was incredible. The weather was incredible. Tracy and the partnership were incredible. It was just an amazing, amazing weekend. So thank you not only to the folks who made it happen, but also to the folks who attended, because you made it happen as well. So with that, council, I'll need two motions, please. I'll need a motion for findings. We'll be going to an executive session to discuss personnel. I think the manager will be attending, and that is it. And then we will need, then we'll need a motion to enter executive session. A motion for findings, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, thank you very much. And a motion to enter executive session. Do you expect any sort of action?
No action.
Okay,
No
we do
action.
not expect any action, but we'll be entering executive session upon motion. Thank you. Second? Second. Thank you. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, council will be in executive session in just one moment. Yeah, no one's here.
Just us, usually.
Okay,
At
motion
least
to
David's
exit
still hanging
executive
out.
session. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Beth. Motion to adjourn. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Beth. Unanimously carried. We're good.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Nicholas, I saw this thing on social media